Hello, fellow football connoisseurs, and welcome back to the Quick Take. I hope you're all doing well on this fine July afternoon, evening, Tuesday morning, whenever you're watching this video. We have some big news updates, of course, regarding Conant Dewsbury-Hall. We have an update regarding Amari Hutchinson. His future has now been sealed. And an update regarding Riccardo Calafiori, a very exciting defender that's been linked with Chelsea. He was balling out for Italy and has had an incredible season with Bologna last season. I'll get into all that later on, but starting off with the Conant Dewsbury-Hall news. Conant Dewsbury-Hall to Chelsea, here we go. Player on his way to medical today ahead of contract signing. Deal valid until June of 2030 for KDH at Chelsea. Reunited with Enzo Maresca, Chelsea to pay fee around £30 million to Leicester City after final round of talks today. Now, he was originally on his way to Brighton. He had his medical with Brighton, and then Chelsea hijacked the deal. They got involved, and from that point on, Conant Dewsbury-Hall stopped all negotiations with Brighton and said, no, I want to join Chelsea. So we have stolen yet another player from Brighton, and I'm sure Brighton fans absolutely love us. Leicester fans love us because we managed to get one of their best players for a relatively cheap price, £30 million in today's market for a player like Conant Dewsbury-Hall in terms of his tenacity in those half spaces and in breaking through those lines. In terms of his output, lots of assists, goals galore last season for Leicester in the Championship. Just an all-round fantastic player. And Chelsea managed to get, as I said, for a relatively decent price, £30 million. It does open up some questions regarding the future of Chelsea in terms of that place, that place in that position. I did mention in the last video how I thought it was slightly unnecessary because the likes of Conant Chukwuemeka and Cole Palmer, although there has been some rumours that Conant Chukwuemeka's future may be in doubt at Chelsea. Fabrizio Romano did say that, there is no chance he goes out on loan. It's either a very good bid or he stays at Chelsea. AC Milan, I think, are pushing for him. The latest rumour was they wanted a loan with an obligation to buy. We'll see what happens there. I really like Conant Chukwuemeka. He has been kind of dealt a bad hand with injuries last season, but I think he's a fantastic player. And I think he can have a really strong future with Chelsea. But he's not the only one in that position. You can also play Conor Gallagher, although Conor Gallagher may be sold. It doesn't look like he'll be going to Tottenham anymore, though, however, because Tottenham have just signed Gray, and they signed him for, I think, £40 million. So that really covers that position that Gallagher would have been inheriting if he did go to Tottenham. And we also have other players who can fill that role as well. If you want to play Enzo Fernandez in a more advanced role, Moises Caicedo could play there. Cesar Catterday, of course, he also has experience working under Enzo Maresca last season on loan at Leicester. Andre Santos, of course, a fantastic player. Didn't get much time at Nottingham Forest, went to Strasbourg, has been playing fantastically, so he could also have a chance to play in that position. And then, of course, you're now adding Conant Dewsbury-Hall into the mix. So Chelsea are very stacked in that kind of advanced 8 position, sitting in front of the 2 pivot players, of course, one of them being the inverted fullback. I like this move. I think it's a decent move to make. Chelsea are a side that is going to be wanting to compete for the titles every single season, whether that's Champions League, Premier League, Europa League, FA Cup, wherever they're in, they're going to want to win it. And so to win that, you're going to want to have a really strong squad with lots of backup players. If Cole Palmer picks up a big injury, if he does his ACL, if he does his Achilles, you've got Conant Dewsbury Hall sliding into that role. He, of course, won't be as effective and as prominent and as maybe electric as a Cole Palmer may be, but he knows Enzo Maresca. He knows English football, and he can bring goals and assists to his side. Another thing, actually, just speaking of Enzo Maresca, another thing about this deal is it might actually help Enzo Maresca find his way into building his connection with this squad, having brought in a player from his previous workplace and a player that's going to really help the rest of the team. Again, it's not a foreign player coming in; it's an English player. So, I would imagine that he would have some connections with the other English players in this squad. Players like Reece James, who will be featuring next season, Levi Colwill, who will be featuring next season, hopefully. Other players, of course, as well, Raheem Sterling. And Noni Madueke. So Chelsea, in bringing in Dewsbury Hall, I think this will also help the likes of Enzo Maresca embedding himself into this squad already. But let me know your thoughts on Conant Dewsbury-Hall to Chelsea. Are you happy with this move? £30 million, so around £6 million a season if you want to go by amortization, although Chelsea have basically paid off £5 million of that through selling a player to Leicester separate to this deal, getting into that right now. Understand Leicester City will sign Michael Golding from Chelsea for a value of £5 million. 2006 born talent will leave Chelsea to join Leicester, in separate deal after Conant Dewsbury-Hall move being completed for £30 million fee. So Chelsea are letting go all one of their academy graduates. Honestly, this was to be expected. It's pure profit. Whether he would have gotten a chance in this squad ahead of other players, who knows? At least it's not like the likes of Tyrick George or Josh Achempong. Now, moving on to the Amari Hutchinson news. This coming in from Fabrizio Romano 15 hours ago. Official, confirmed. Amari Hutchinson signs in as new Ipswich Town player on £22 million package deal. Add-ons included. Its club record fee for Ipswich Town, 25% sell-on clause and matching rights for Chelsea. No buyback clause. Amari signs until June 2029 as expected. So no buyback clause, but if Ipswich want to sell him to another club, we can either accept the 25% that we will get from that sale, or we can match what the other club is offering and then we can sign him. Again, another player who is being flipped for profit, but this one, he'd be coming into a very stacked position on that right-hand side. He'd be competing against Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer, and when they come in next season, Esteval Willian and Kendry Paez. So whether he would have got ample game time for Chelsea is up for debate. I think Chelsea have done quite a good job with this deal. Again, paid £1 million for him, sold him for £22 million. Chelsea are going to walk away from this deal thinking very highly of themselves, in my opinion. But moving on to the final news story of the day, and it is, of course, regarding Riccardo Calafiori, who has been linked with Chelsea all the way through the Euros and towards the end of the season, as Chelsea have been scouting him for Italy. Italy now, of course, out of the Euros. Let's have a look at the news regarding Calafiori. This coming in from Fabrizio Romano on his podcast. Keep an eye on Arsenal and Chelsea for Calafiori, but still an open race. Let me mention again, Chelsea is looking for a left-footed talented left-back or centre-back. Chelsea are following the situation for Calafiori. Now, there were some rumblings that Marc Cucurella's future at Chelsea may be limited, and he has had a pretty good Euros for Spain, of course, knocking out Georgia the other day in a 4-1 masterclass. He's been playing fantastically well for his international side. I would prefer to keep him. I really like Marc Cucurella, but if we are to sell him, then I don't see many other players on the market who could be a better player coming in right now than Riccardo Calafiori. Enzo Maresca apparently rates him very highly and would like him at Chelsea. As far as I'm concerned, I think he's a brilliant player. And I don't want to say he's just got that look about him that, is just going to be like world class in a few years' time, or even is at a very high level now. But he does remind you of one of the 2000s great defenders of their time. You know what I mean? Like the Maldinis. I really think it's just the long hair and the headband, but we'll see how his career turns out. And I think Chelsea will go in for him this summer. It won't be a cheap deal, however. He was rumoured to be going to Juventus. I think Juventus have basically pulled out of that deal because of the €50 million asking price. That's around £43 million. But for a player like Riccardo Calafiori, I think it's well worth it. Before I end the video, I just want to quickly say, I think now that we have entered July and we are now, 23 days away from our first preseason game against Wrexham, Chelsea's transfer business in this window is going to start picking up. We are going to see a lot more players coming in, a lot more sales. Conor Gallagher's sale may be stunted. Of course, he may not be going to Spurs now. I think if he leaves, it'll be towards the end of the window. Clubs putting pressure on Chelsea to sell, whether Gallagher fits into Enzo Maresca's ideology and his philosophy of controlling the ball and, really making the most of your time on the ball and your time off the ball. He believes in that kind of, for 87 minutes of the game, you're not on the ball. So that is what matters the most. So being a technically gifted player off the ball instead of just on the ball is going to be a big factor, and whether Gallagher fits into that philosophy, who knows? His future is up in the air at the moment. He has 1 year left on his contract, so I would expect deals like that to start really ramping up as time progresses. We have now left June. It was expected to be a very busy June. In fact, it wasn't. So Chelsea will start to pick up business, in my opinion, in the very near future. So keep an eye on that. And so to make sure you never never miss any news regarding Chelsea, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on bell notifications so you get notified whenever I upload. I'll be covering as much news as possible as it comes out. As always, if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. I've been The Quick Take, and I'll catch you on the next one. See you later.